post-commercial break, and then we ran back to discuss on some interesting games that played. Of course, Hearts FC and BK Milan play in Jara West, and of course, Hearts received their first beating in their home ground. Well, we take our post-commercial break,
and then, before you can take it, let me help you do that. No, we will take our
post-commercial break. You are the co-host today,
and when we return, the discussion continues here on African.
We take our post-commercial break, and then we'll be right back.
What are you doing?
You don't have to.
Ici c'est la Terre Sainte, la patrie des dieux, bienvenue sur la terre-mère. Le nord, le sud, l'embrasse, l'est et l'ouest, on vit le rêve de en la tierra de nuestros abuelos. Você sabe que as crianças são futuro, trazendo esperança para a próxima geração. On donne tout pour l'Afrique, du Djibouti au Sénégal. Comme mendiant, tout ce que je veux c'est soulever le Graal. L'Afrique est belle, l'Afrique est jeune, l'Afrique est forte. Enfant de la terre, mère, lève le poing et envoie du love. Enfant de la terre, mère, lève le poing et envoie du love.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. If you're just joining us, this is Africa in Sport here on Africa Renaissance TV Network with me, of course, Mohammed M. Seliba. So now,
I didn't say anything. I'm glad to be back. I am glad to be
not done.
back.
Let me welcome you from the short commercial break now.
Okay.
Yes. So, welcome back, Mohammed Divine.
I am glad to be here. Like I said, I am really glad to be here. Well, in the break, I was really not given any refreshment from courtesy of you, and then you invited me here like you claim, but you did not give me anything. So, but we can take it up from there.
Yes. So now like the most interesting game of the of the game day 22, which is BK Milan and the Hearts FC. Hearts FC, the league leaders, and of course BK Milan, a title contender. Also, they played in Jarosoma, and then BK were able to dominate Hearts FC in their own home ground, which is the first of Hearts to lose their home game. And of course, it's a long journey since they lose a game. So how do you assess the game? Because BK, they were from a low stake, from losing 2 consecutive games to winning the league leaders. How impressive was this game for them?
It was very, very interesting and impressive from BK Milan. And Hearts, on the other hand, well, this has come as it was coming. It was not really a surprise to me, if you ask me. I think BK really did wonders in terms of their playing style. And we said this before. BK is one of those teams that really has the backing of experience in fact, coming to the tail end of the season. And then they were able to manifest against the league leaders. And I only hope they are able to build on this to mount a real title challenge, against Hearts. When you look at Hearts FC, Hearts has drawn 2 games in a row prior to their game against BK. So this is why I said this was already coming. Hearts was that team that we know throughout the season has always been playing with a sword in their hands. That means they've killed any opponent that comes to their homes. They've gone to away stadiums or parks and then won massively. But having to not been able to contain that spirited BK Milan, I think from a neutral perspective, it was one of those interesting games that we really looked out for. And then when we look at the positions now, we have seen the league position with the gap between the first and the second, between Hearts and then the Hawks, for instance, Hearts, that reduced to 2 points. We were at some point counting 9 points. But then this has all of a sudden disappeared. And now we've seen that a single draw from Hearts FC, and if Hawks can maintain their league position in terms of winning again, they can overtake them. So it's been that interesting point of the season that we are all looking for.
Will you say that there is a fatigue in the team of Hearts since the beginning? Because like you said, their last 3 games have not been that the results that they will have wanted. I believe that is they draw two consecutive games and of course a loss. Which means they lose a maximum of almost to 5 to 7 points. That's quite a bad performance from a team that is that have been leading by 9 points between them and the second man.
But I wouldn't say fatigue could be a contributing factor. This affects every footballer at some point. But then looking at the young players, the nature of the average team they have, the Hearts also has one of those young players, a young group of players in their midst. So maybe experience could be playing in their hands.
Not only experience. I believe
that is a huge thing in football when it comes to leading on top. Sometimes it's easier to chase someone on top than running out from a pack of experienced teams that are following. Let's say in the case of Hearts here, I mean, when you look at Hawks have been consistent in their play. We have GPA, we have BK Milan, we have Gambia Dotlands. They've been not all playing bad football, so at least they're accumulating points as they are going. This could be pressure that has been transferred to Hearts, but I hope for their sake they're able to minimize this and come back to their winning ways for the next years.
Indeed. Looking at of course, Hearts FC, they've been doing well. They have played a very good football, and then but then looking at Mourinho, Mourinho is also a very experienced coach. Compared to most of the coaches that are playing in the second division. He had played a lot of games in the top tiers of the Gambia Football Federation, both the second and then the first division. So now, interestingly, Hearts, most of their games that they played in combo here, it's a draw for them. But then in their home games, they win most of their games. Having to draw only 2 games. Now they've had add another thing there, that is they are beaten once. Since the beginning of this season. But then now their next game is in Banjul. Where they are playing GPA. GPA is third. Is also they also sit third in the league. How will you suggest what will be your prediction to that game?
Well, I wouldn't rush to predict a game of that magnitude,
But then,
but I know
now,
it has a huge impact. It will have a huge impact in the title challenge here. I mean, that is a game that could really turn the tides. If, for instance, BK, how do you call it, Ports can mount a win against Hearts, I mean, this will turn the table upside down. I mean, Hearts can, from that game day 23, they can lose the top spot to either Hawks, in fact, even to GPA if Hawks will also lose a game, for instance. So this is just 2 points, and I would really love to see how that game pans, and I wouldn't be able to predict for now, but I will leave that to maybe for the rest of the conversation.
Well, I think the viewers can give their prediction towards that game. That is Hearts FC, of course, versus GPA that will be played in Brikama. But then looking at the games that GPA played in Banjul, of course, rather than I mentioned Brikama, but then it's in Banjul. Most of the games that they played recently, they win. Most of their games there. Of course, they win all the games there since the beginning of the second round. How I think that would be a motivation for them. Towards
Yes, and not just that, knowing that, okay, Hearts is coming also from consecutive draws and then a lose. This is something that can play in the hands of GPA to know, well, Hearts now is that vulnerable, but what do we really need to do to mount that pressure on them? But on the reverse, I mean, if I am to be in the coach of Hearts right now, well, this is to calm the boys down. That, okay, well, we've done this all season. We've won all season. We've been in a pretty good position that every other team will dream to be in. All that we need to do is to go back to the basics, not concede goals, and score that winning goal. I mean, a single goal, when they are good at that. They can score a single goal and then go on to defend
so now,
the game.
let's have your perception towards Heart. What do you think? Will they be able to maintain their position as the league leaders and, of course, take the cup and also receive their qualification to the first division? Do you think they will be able to maintain?
Well, I would say yes, to receive, to go on for promotions to the first division. I would say yes, that is the likeliest thing that is certain from my prediction. But for that top spot, 5 games ago, if you ask me, I would have said yes, that is certain for Hearts. But today, as it stands, well, I cannot say that for certain that Hearts would go on to be the title winner. It's wide open as it stands now.
Yes, I think we will go. We'll try to have the head coach of Heart FC, of course, even if not the head coach, a member of their their team to come and have discussion with us here, to see their perception and also how they went about winning games from the first round and then how it turned around in the second round. Now moving on, let's see how it unfolds in Banjul against Sports. But then moving on, Kanifing is also played Unique Global at Bakau. Where Kanifing is, also drawn again against Unique Global in Bakau in their home ground.
Well, yes, Kanifing is, we are back at it again. They've also failed to win again. This time, well, they've scored a goal. Like we previously said, scoring goals has been their problem. Well, this time they've scored a goal, but then it's still a draw. And they were tentatively on a static position with 10, but now they're back. They've dropped to 11. I mean, still not a good course for them. They will still need to put their house in order, because they will really need to put up some wins if they are to finish at the top half of the table, which they will really need to do. And we've said it's like Unique Global too. Well, they have nothing to lose yet, but I would have expected them to go on to win even against Kanifing, for instance, because they have that backing of confidence that we say in terms of stability financially, which is that important at this stage. And I think they would be able to look at that as a loss point instead of a draw from the global perspective.
Indeed. That was indeed an entertaining game, between Kanifing is, of course, Kanifing is, they usually play very well in Bakau. It's a pitch that they understand very well, and then they always played a wonderful football. Looking at most of their games that they play now, another game, the games that played on the 25th starts with Jam City, of course, versus Serekunda United. These are teams that they have been following each other,
Yeah.
from the relegation zone. Whereas Serekunda United is in the relegation zone, while Jam City is just few points from the relegation zone. But then Jam City were able to to beat Serekunda United 2-0 in of course in Brikama.
Well, we said this before. Jam City has an extra man when they play in Brikama. The 13th or the 12th man for Jam City is always their fan base, which is that quite important for them. But we've seen this before. Now, I mean, when especially in the second half of the season, they've been able to grab some wins, which is that important for the position they are at now, because it's that sensitive. I mean, any position below 17 in the league here is not really safe from relegation. So if a team in the, let's say, Jara West, in fact, can qualify to the next round, I mean, if they can put up 2-3 games of win. So any point that a team like Jam City can accumulate at this point is only going to play in their hands positively.
Indeed. And then there are a few points, I think 2 points, 2 points away from the Serekunda United, which is Serekunda United City, at the force when it comes to the relegation zone. They have that that opportunity. If they are able to win, like you said, 2 or 3 games, they will be able to get out of the relegation zone. Now another game that played was Elite United versus Ouagadougou. Of course, Elite United, they've also been struggling. They missed winning, and then they were able to turn those unfortunate incidents to a win, against, of course, Ouagadougou in their home, that is Basori.
Well, yes, I know you said we would really be open to, we would really try to bring in the coach or a member from Hearts FC to a panel discussion here, to have join the discussion. But I would also love to have a member or someone from Ouagadougou. They've been a team that I've been following keenly, only looking at their performance, and there has not been much noise about them. But then this is a team that has really gradually formed its way, even though they've lost this game against Elite. That is quite unfortunate for them. But then they're a good team, and when there is and they are given support, for instance, I think they will really go on to play a very good account in this league.
Yes. So now another game that plays is Serekunda FC versus, of course, I can say the heavyweight when it comes to the title contending. Now they are the ones that are competing with Hearts that much. It's just 2 points between away from the league leaders, which is Hawks FC. Hawks played against Serekunda in the late Usman Saho football field in Yundum, where Hawks were able to to beat Serekunda United 2-0.
Well, Hawks, I think they've traded positions with Hearts in terms of form, in terms of being that serial winner. When you look at the last 5 games, whatever statistics that is going against Hearts is what is really going well for Hawks. They've been able to steadily come. The noise has always been about Gambia Lions, BK Milan, and then little on GPA. And people have given that oversight function to them because we've not really neglected them per se in that, but then they've done well. And what they are doing is one of the best things that you can do in a season is to be chasing someone on top. So all they know is, okay, well, let's just win our games, and then the rest we leave it to Hearts FC, and that has played into their hands. Hearts has drawn 2 games prior to this, and then lost a game, and now they are little above them with 2 points. So all they do is next game when GPA beats or draws with Hearts, Hawks can simply win and then be on top.
Indeed. And then Hawks, looking at their games, like if you want to give an in-depth analysis or to analyze all the games that play, Hawks have been a team that has a very good midfield. They concede goals, that's fine, but then they also score. Which means they don't lose that much. All their games, they lose only 1 game throughout the 22 games that have played. I think they for me personally, if I want to give my prediction, I believe they will be able to turn down the first position, or to trade the position, like you would always say with Hearts FC, because looking at the consistency of their draws and wins, it's quite amazing that they have not They've lost only one game, in the entire 22, 22 games that they've played. Now, finally, the last game that played on the 25th was Immigration versus the Gambia Dutch Lions FC, where the Gambia Dutch Lions FC also beat Gunju in Immigrations, of course, 1-0 in their home ground in Banjul.
Well, if there's going to be any unpredictable team in this division right now, it's going to be the Gambia Dutch Lions. Well, you don't tend to know when they can put up that winning run or losing run. They don't tend to win consecutive games, let's say 3 games in a row. Neither would they lose 3 games in a row. And so this is quite funny with them. So this is why it is a tricky opponent for anyone in the league. They've lost a game prior. They've won a game on game day 19, lost at game day 21, and then won in 22. So it's not balanced enough.
It's not balanced.
And this is why it is difficult for them to go on to mount a real title challenge, just like Hawks is doing, for instance. So they are still in the midst, but then it's difficult to tip them to say, well, they can really clinch on the title. They have to be really little more consistent than they are right now, even though they've won right now. But
now let's talk about Immigration. Let's talk about Immigration. These are teams that are, they're also struggling. We've had, not long ago that the team, the team players, went on a strike, a sit-down strike, that they don't attend some of their training sessions, due to some unpaid bonuses, like I say, like we always say, the unpaid bonus. Challenges are part of football, especially Gambian football is concerned. Do you think this is something that is affecting them, their performance, because they are also in the relegation zone?
Well, yeah, definitely this will be a part of it. I mean, I can tell you for a fact, this is just going to be a microcosm, a small part of the problem. Well, when frustrations get to that level where footballers can go on to strike, I mean, a team can go on to strike to say we are not going to train, or some of them will not be able to train. It means there is a bigger problem than we know right now. And for their sake, I hope they are able to maintain this until and then go out of that relegation zone, and be hopeful that they can be able to solve these problems. But then financial problems have become the norm for every other team. But sometimes it has to go beyond financial problems. I mean, how we manage our footballers in terms of player management is that important, because this is at the semi-professional level, so they could be able to handle this better. So the fans would be,
I believe, when it comes to
fighting at this round for qualification rather than for bonuses.
Indeed, when it comes to our level, this is a professional. We call it a professional football. When it comes to our level, the Gambian level, the Gambian perspective, you will see it as a professional level, because from the second division you move on to the the first tier of the Gambia Football Federation League. Now, looking at Gambia Dutch Lions, their formation, their starting line up since game day 19 have changed. Coach Umar have changed some of the players. We've not been seeing Buba Dabo, who was consistent. He was very consistent. We've not seen some of their players, Yankuba, for instance. Now, we've seen he bring in new players like Malang, the winger, which is now played as a striker, and then he have been scoring. He scored, almost two of their winning goals. That is against BK Milan, and of course, their last game, which is against Immigration.
Well, that is interesting, because like I said before, I've once had an interview with Coach Umar, and those were specific words that he said, that his team is difficult to establish an 11, and which is sometimes, when you look at this on a positive side, could be with the intent of having that competition for them. I mean, the second half of the season is really meant for players that will deliver on the spot, and he has had an 11 at some point prior to game day 19. But then we've seen this, there have been new phases in the team. And we've seen, like Yankuba mentioned, the left back and then the center back,
even the
goalkeeper. So having this has freshened up the team, and then everyone knows that my position is not secure. So all we have to do is to fight, and they'll have to fight. And I think that will play into their hands positively.
No, I think this is a good thing that they have. Looking at Hearts, since the beginning of the season, they have a single 11, like players will say. They have only single players. Do you think even that could be a problem, since teams will have understand their game plan, since they have only 1-11, like?
Well, I am really not a fan of such to say, well, because a team has an 11, that makes it's a weakness. I only see a positive thing in that, because it creates that bond that is natural, that people wouldn't be able to see. Well, other teams coaches can try to counter that, to bring up techniques to stop your team, but then this gives your players to understand each other, to know if I don't need to turn to know my flank is there as a midfielder. I know he is always going to be there. I know what passes my striker needs for me to keep. So it's a positive thing for me if you ask me. And then it gives players that consistency level, which I am a big fan of, all, because sustainability to whatever movement you do
Indeed, sustainability
is
is
that
that
important.
important. Now, that's the end of the Game Day 22 of the Gambia Football Federation Second Division League, and then the table looks really interesting. Like we said, Hearts is first still now, but then with 2 points away from the second man, which is Hawks FC. Now, we move on to, of course, there is an athletic competition. Just a single question onto that athletics competition. The national, school athletics competition is taking place in Brikama, the Kindred of Botrop Casino Secondary School in Brikama. It used to be played in the Independence Stadium, but now we've seen it is shifted due to the renovation that is happening at the Independence Stadium. Down there, they are performing their trade, the athletics competition in Brikama. Now, how important is athletics development also when it comes to the sport advancement in this country?
Athletic competitions rather are quite interesting part of sports. I mean, they are one of the strongholds, not just within the Gambia, but within the sub-region. And then it's one of those things that I think can really contribute to development generally in the Gambia, especially on sports. I mean, looking at this competition, for instance, it's at the lower level. This is it could be termed as a grassroots level for us in the Gambia here. And that is quite important because it's like we are there. I don't like to use this phrase, but I would borrow it today to say, well, we catch them young when players or athletes are those infant stage when they are able to get those exposures and then experiences. Now we've seen the likes of Gina Bass taking the flag of the Gambia and Africa to the whole world. And we want to see many Gina Basses. We want to see many young Mintes. We want to see many Badamoses who has really performed well in the past week. But then it all starts from this. And I think if the coordination goes well, we would really sit to witness this in the next 5 years to celebrate such an occurrence.
Indeed, we'll try to bring in, of course, the organizers of the national, school athletics competition that is taking place in Birkama. And of course, now, during their press conference, after they've announced that, the performance, the people that are performing, it has been increased from 400 to 2,000. That's a great milestone.
Well, it's an over multiplied margin, if you like to say. But let's see. I want to see how it is managed. But then it gives that wide scope to every other person to know, well, we can participate in this, and then that is quite important for inclusivity and then expansion of the whole program.
Indeed, that's indeed a great one. Now we take our, we will end it from here. And then we'll try to bring in, of course, some of the the importance happening at the Kindred of Botrop Secondary School to see what team will emerge victorious, which school will emerge victorious, and then which of the athletes will be registered as a national athletes from there. Now we take we will leave you. We will take a leave from you, but before that, you can say your final words, and then we end it from there.
I wouldn't say my final words. I have final remarks, not final words. I am here. I pray for a long life, and I want to be here for many, many years. Well, but I'm glad to be here, Sidiba. Like I always said, it's an important avenue that we are here, and then having to interact with not just fans, supporters, viewership of African Renaissance TV, and lovers of sports, not just in the Gambia, but Africa at a general level. Our focus has been on football, but we will really try as much as possible to inculcate other sporting activities, and then to invite other panelists here, from sports journalists to sports footballers to fans to coaches and technical experts in all angles, to be able to have this as a more inclusive program. And until I come again, I wouldn't want to conclude before he says I am interactive.
Well, viewers, this brings us to the end of today's episode here on Africa in Sport, here on Africa Renaissance TV Network with me, Mohammed M. Sediba. Like we always say, this program is open for partnership, for sponsorship. Of course, common partner with us, to help in the advancement of football, to give in-depth analysis, and of course to talk about issues that are, that are happening in the sport world of the Africa in general. Now, till we come your way next time, I am Mohammed M. Sediba. But before that, this program is brought to you by, of course, the Gambia.Lion Consortium. The Gambia.Lion Consortium, or the Gambia.Lion FC, is playing their trade in the the second division league of the Gambia Football Federation, and then they're doing really well, and then they sit fourth on the table after Game Day 22. Well, till we come your way next time, bye from us.
Ici c'est la Terre Sainte, la patrie des dieux, bienvenue sur la terre-mère. Le nord, le sud, l'embrasse, l'est et l'ouest, on vit le rêve de la tierra de nuestros abuelos. Você sabe que as crianças são futuro. Deuxième expérience, c'est pas le prossimo, je le sens. On donne tout pour l'Afrique, de Djibouti au Sénégal. Comme mendiant, tout ce que je veux, c'est soulever le Graal. L'Afrique est belle, l'Afrique est jeune, l'Afrique est forte. Enfant de la terre, mère, lève le poing et envoie du love.